Hey everybody, I'm Carl Lanning, Brazos River Charter School with This Week in History, specifically the week of October the 4th through 10th. Well, last week you may remember I told you about this young lady and possibly one heck of a survival story. Matter of fact, a double survival story, you might argue. This is Julianne Kopke. She was born October 10th of 1954. On Christmas Eve of 1971, she and her mother boarded that turboprop aircraft, and they were flying over the Peruvian Amazon rainforest. Now, in the midst of a storm, the plane was struck by lightning. This is not an unusual occurrence. It happens, and usually there's no damage whatsoever. However, this time the plane went into a nosedive. She recalled looking out the window and seeing that one of the engines had exploded. All of a sudden, she said that it got extremely quiet except for the wind. And that she looked down, she noticed the canopy of the rainforest coming up towards her. And then she blacked out. Well, the next day, she believes, she woke up, the plane had crashed, she had survived a 9,000-foot drop from the sky after the aircraft had broken up in the air. There's some of the pieces there behind her on a later visit. Now, Julianne's collarbone was broken. She suffered deep gashes in her left leg, right arm, a torn ligament in her knee, and an eye was swollen shut. First, she searched for her mother, who had been in the seat next to her, and any other possible survivors, but wasn't able to find anyone. Fortunately, her parents were researchers in the Amazon, and she had learned a few survival techniques. She found a bag of candy. That was going to be her only food for the next 10 days, and headed out walking. Eventually, she found a small creek, and she followed it downstream into a larger stream. After 10 days, she came up on a boat that was on the bank and saw a trail that was going up towards a hut. So she followed it. She found an obviously occupied hut that happened to be empty at the time. She found some gasoline, poured it on the wounds that were on her arm to remove the 35 maggots that she said were still alive on her, and promptly fell asleep. The next morning, the loggers arrived back at their camp and found her. They put her on a boat, took her downstream to a village that had an airfield, where then she was flown to go to her father. She later did return to the crash site with rescuers. She was able to find her mother. However, it appears that she and several others had survived for a few days but succumbed to their injuries. So, Julianne Kopke survived a 9,000-foot fall and then 10 days wandering around the Amazon rainforest in pretty bad shape. A heck of a survival story. Another survival story for that matter, and that is Mr. Alvin C York. On October 8th of 1918, Alvin York earned himself a place in history. He served in the 82nd Division during World War I. He and 17 men were dispatched to take out multiple German machine gun positions along this ridge that was taking a horrible toll on his unit. They worked their way around behind the ridge to take the position from the rear. Now, after capturing a command post and a number of prisoners, they were discovered by the gunners on the ridge, who wheeled around their machine guns and opened up on York and his 17 men. 9 of his comrades were killed or wounded, leaving Corporal York in command. York ordered the 7 men that were remaining to get under cover and guard the prisoners that they had, while he dealt with the machine guns on the ridge. Now, like I said, the estimate are about 30 or so machine guns on the ridge, but York was a sharpshooter. So, using his rifle, he essentially selected a position that actually allowed him to look down the German trench and started picking off the German gunners one by one. After emptying his rifle, 6 German soldiers charged at him with their bayonets. He took them out with his Model 1911. The German commander, after emptying his pistol at York and not hitting him, realizing his mounting losses, offered to surrender to York, and York accepted. York and his 7 men marched 132 German prisoners to a command post. When he got there, a general arrived. He said, York, I hear you captured the whole German army. He replied, no, sir. I only got 132 of them. Alvin York is credited with killing 25 of the enemy and silencing 32 machine guns, and almost single-handedly capturing 132 men. He was eventually awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions. He was later decorated with the Croix de Guerre, which was a very high French honor given to foreign soldiers that were their allies. While that was being pinned on him, Ferdinand Foch, the field marshal in charge of all Allied armies in World War I, said to him, what you did was the greatest thing accomplished by any soldier of all the armies in Europe. He returned home a national hero. He married Grace Williams. They had 7 children. Having only an elementary education himself, he wanted to have a peaceful legacy, as he called it, so he spent years raising funds and battling the bureaucracy both at the state and local level to set up a school in the poverty-stricken valley that he had grown up in. Today, the Alvin C York Institute is considered a, quote, nationally recognized school of excellence, unquote, and boasts the highest graduation rate in the state of Tennessee. Well, that's it for this week, but to let you know what's coming up, for those of you who are old enough, we will revisit this. For the younger of you, you're going to learn something. Thank you for your time. I'm Carl Lanning, Brazos River Charter School. We look forward to seeing you right here next week.